Hello everyone, this is Erica with Sabon Designs, and I have some new files out that I wanted to do a quick gluing tutorial for you and just talk about some of the ease and the challenges within these. So hopefully this will be a pretty quick little video. These are what I'm calling some regional sunset ornaments. They are the wood grain design, so the woods are turned to give a lot of that depth and change. You can see the, oh, where's a better one? Maybe this one. You can see the rays are kind of moving and the sand moves around there, so it creates a lot of depth on these. I just did 6 of these. I know there's probably some other regions. I've already thought of a couple that I could have added to this, so there may be more coming down the road, but for now, this is what we have. So if you have some suggestions of something in your area that might be good for this ornament, this type of ornament, I would love to hear it, and maybe we could make that happen. So for these guys, I've kind of got them easiest to hardest is how I'm going to glue these, as far as some of these have a few, excuse me, smaller pieces that are going to be a little more challenging. The tools I'm going to use today, type on glue. So these are all raw wood. You could definitely do these in, excuse me, some other materials. Some Eco Woods pre-finished stuff, as long as you get those good grains, are going to look really nice. I have done these with, there's another Rolling Hills one of the first ones I did, a super basic, easy design that I have done with the Eco Woods, and they look really good. So that's always an option. But these are all done with the raw woods. These have not been sanded or sealed, so these are just glued down to get started. So I kind of tested all these, found my difficulties and what I wanted to talk about, and then I've got some others cut that we're going to glue. So I'm going to use the Type On glue, and I'm going to turn that upside down now because we're running a little low, and get that to the end. Toothpicks, always super helpful. I always keep toothpicks close. And for these guys, I am going to use these couple weeding tools, possibly definitely the tweezers for some of these smaller pieces in the dock and the kind of farmland barn and silo, just to be helpful. Oh, and that little lighthouse windows up there. So we are going to get started. These are kind of the order that I felt like they were easiest to difficult. So we are going to start with our mountains. Always, always, always do a dry fit on these first. Excuse me. Make sure the rays are going to be the biggest challenge. Some of these are pretty easy. The rays are different shapes, just how I had them laid out, but some of them can be very similar looking, and if you don't get them in just right at the right spot, they're not going to fit. So these two probably look very similar if you're just trying to put it together. And if you get them in wrong, it's not going to fit together. So might be a little trial and error, but definitely dry fit everything first. So I'm going to pull the little frame off and do a little slide over here. Oh, that didn't go well at all. And I'm going to look at this really quick. I always try to just sand the top of my ornament, because that's the part that's going to show if there's any little scorch marks or laser schmutz up there. We're going to just get that off first thing. And I'm just going to do my quick cover in glue here. And I'm going to go around that edge, make sure I get enough there. And it's always tough with these to get enough glue, but not too much. We don't want it seeping out. And I am just going to try to be sure I get all my little corners and edges with some glue on them. Oop, and I got way too much on that. I can already see that. So I'm going to spread some of this around a little bit. That will probably help. And maybe even get that out to the edge just a little more so I have a good glue bond on my frame. What is really nice with these is that frame goes on first, and that's going to make it a whole lot easier to get all these pieces together. I'm going to line up my grains so they're going this way. I mean, you could do it this way too, but I think just making sure that they aren't cattywampus one direction or the other. And I've got glue on here, but I can still see the score design in there for the most part. So I am just going to start adding my pieces. And yeah, this one is probably the simplest of the 6 of these to put together. Now with the rays, there's usually one on the sides that are obviously, got a little too much glue in there, and we don't want that glue seeping out between our pieces. So I am actually going to pull this piece out and wipe it down because there's a lot of glue that snuck up on me there. And when that happens, I'm going to try to set it in versus sliding it in so we don't get any more of that glue coming up. And I've already kind of got a lot of mine dried. I'm going to add just a little more up here, make sure our rays are getting enough glue there. And now I got my rays out of order. And this is where you're going to have to be careful and make sure they're all going in the right direction. If my little pull apart there had worked a little better, they'd all be in the order that I had already tested them for. And now I'm going to move these around just a little. You can add kerf to your piece if you want. I don't do that just because of how my laser cuts. I do have a pretty good understanding of kerf. I've done a lot of inlay earring type pieces, but I also want my designs to be accessible for everyone, and don't want them to be too pretty and hard to do to achieve that. So, you know, this is without kerf. This is, anybody can really do this with their laser. Definitely diode friendly with the wood. Super easy. So there's our first one, and there's the one I did before. So those look great. So let's move on to our cactus. Again, super easy. We do have a couple pieces that are going to go inside there a little bit. And I'm just going to take a little bit of char off the top. And again, trying to hit so that every piece is going to get enough glue. I'm going to focus on making sure that I have enough glue in these 2 little pieces that are going to go in between the cactus, because those are a little smaller. And we're going to line up that grain again. And this one again, pretty simple. We're just putting together a puzzle. And this one does have a couple smaller pieces. But not too intricate. And these rays could definitely get mixed up, excuse me, these three in particular. So be sure you have that good dry fit done. To make sure they all line up. Uh-oh, and we have a little glue sneaking out here. Again, toothpicks are your best friends for stuff like this, and it is still sneaking up there, so I am going to just pull this piece out, wipe down that glue, make sure and get it off this side, and just set that back in. And now I'm just going to wiggle all my pieces around. That is the great benefit of using the Titebond. With this design, 3M probably wouldn't be too bad because you've got that circle on the outside, and if you start that way, 3M might work really well. But you'd have to put it on each individual piece, because if you put it on the base, it's going to show up here, which isn't going to be the best. All right, now the lighthouse. So this one's going to be a little trickier, just mainly because we have these little pieces. And it's going to be kind of hard to see, but I do have, I'm working backwards on my camera. There we go. One goes this way, one goes this way, and one goes this way as far as the wood grains. So sometimes that can help with these smaller pieces on there. Actually, I'm gonna slide that off. And oh, I got a nice little extra burn mark on there that I did not see before. And I'll probably sand that down just a little bit more before I seal it. So this is where those little tweezers are going to come in and help a lot for those tiny pieces. Kind of spread that glue out in a couple spots that I didn't get it really close to the edge. And we want to be sure we have enough, especially under those lighthouse windows. And we have some waves and we have some rocks. And in the file, these are all, excuse me, broken out or separated. So the rocks are all together. The water's all together. So you can choose which woods you want without it being too terribly confusing. You can at least get your pieces cut from the same color wood. Been wanting to do a more detailed lighthouse ornament. Definitely on my list. This guy didn't get much glue in his spot, so I'm just going to dip him in the glue there before I slide him in. And I'm saving those little pieces for the end. Oh, yikes. Have some glue seepage right there. I think I can get that out. Or not. There we go. So I'm going to put in my top, my bottom, save those tiny pieces for the end. I've still got them here, and I am just going to grab them with the tweezers and slide them in where they go. Maybe last piece in. Perfect. And I'm just going to move my pieces around, make sure everybody is good and stuck. And everybody's lined up, which looks like we are. Perfect. All right, now we're going to get a little more difficult. We've got some extra small pieces, and the trees are going to have a lot more of those edges that are all going to have to sit in there. Remember to do my quick little bit there. You can do that later. It's just harder once you get that layer on to get that sandpaper down in there to get that char off once you have everything glued. Half the time I don't remember to do that and then struggle with it later. And this one, I don't want glue seeping up, but I want to be sure I have enough. Glue is always the challenge. Make sure I'm going out to my edges, and then I've got all those little bits and pieces of those trees and rays with some glue on them. All right, get our grain lined up. I'm usually not too concerned if it comes out the side. That actually comes off pretty easy after we get everything put together. Oh, he brought the ray with him. That was nice. I think I'm going to put my rays in first. We're going to bring those two pieces together too, maybe. That worked out nice. And I did not even need tweezers for this one, but that might have been helpful for some of these smaller pieces. Just kind of wiggle everyone around, make sure we don't have anything. Sometimes these can be really close, and then it looks a little funny because you get no line or not enough line and too much line somewhere else. So I'm just going to kind of squeeze those around a little bit. He actually went together really quite easy. Sometimes you might have an edge come up. Usually the smaller ornaments I don't, but if you do, these little clamps are a great tool. Like this one looks like it's coming up just a little. And so I might clamp that down just on the edge for a little bit. All right, the dock. I'm not sure whether the barn or the dock is a little more challenging. It's these two tiny little pieces on the top of the wood, but they really were necessary for the design, I feel, to truly get that 3D-ish look there. Oh, let's not forget to do my quick little sand. And for this one, I did my little ripples in the water the same material. You could use something different if you wanted a little more contrast. on there. I think once they're finished though, we're going to see that grain because the grain's going a different direction. And that's going to make those ripples pop a little more. I think they're just a little boring as they sit right now. But you definitely could do that separately if you wanted. And let's see, I'm going to start kind of in the middle of this one versus the bottom. There we go. Get more lined up with my wood grain on that cherry frame. This one's pretty obvious, this one's pretty obvious, but this tiny little one over here can definitely mess things up. Oh, there's a lot of glue in there. That is going to seep out for sure. So I'm going to clean some of that out in this tiny one. This little piece. Oh, I'm so bad at this. There we go. One edge is a little cut off where the other's rounded, which is going to be the edge of the frame. And it can go in the other way and it's not going to look quite right. So that's one that you have to be a little careful with. Get my little round pieces in there. And our little dock pieces. And this is where you're maybe going to want to use tweezers. One trick that I am using on this one is I'm actually going to turn the piece upside down from where it was cut because the top part's a little bigger. It hasn't had as much cut off there, so it's going to fill in that space a little better. And so I'll do that sometimes for some of those little details, eyes and things like that, that are pretty symmetrical and you can flip them around. And that was not too bad. Those went in really nicely. And this is one, some glue coming up there to clean out. This one, those top 3 rays are pretty easy to get mixed up, so my advice, put everything together except for those last 3 and then set it in there and slide it around until you find the place that it fits. Because sometimes looking at that outline, they're just so close in shape. All right, he went together pretty well too. Not too bad. All right, last one. We have the barn with the silo. A lot of smaller pieces here and a lot of smaller edges. So this is the one that's going to be probably the most challenging. Here, right, last round of glue. And be sure we get all over those little edges because it's easier to drop it into glue than to put glue on it and slide it in. Come pull this out on some of these edges that I didn't get really well. line up our grain there. And this one, I'm going to build out everything except the difficult pieces, I think. So we have our little rolling fields. And we'll put our rays on. Get our sun in there. And let's see, that piece, and that piece is a little more of the ray. So we do have a couple smaller pieces there. You've got some glue coming up. And with the glue, one thing you want to be careful with these is getting glue on the top. I get it on my hands and then I touch and it kind of makes a mess. But it gets into that wood grain, and you can sand it. Sometimes that's enough if you get it wiped off right away. Sometimes that's not enough, and it'll have a little spot when you go to finish it, which isn't always good. So let's do the barn first, because those pieces are pretty obvious in there where they go. So for this tiny little barn door, there's one full triangle and he'll go on the top. All the others have like a little edge cut off of them. And you'll be able to line those up pretty easily based on the way the wood grain goes. And these might be easier with the tweezers. Sometimes triangular shapes and tweezers don't always do well. They slip and I send them flying across the room. Oh, but we are good on these. And I am going to use it on this tiny little window. All right, now for the silo, I actually have these in wrong. These three bottom pieces are pretty much the same. The angles are the same. It is not going to be too difficult to line them up or get them in the right spots, but, oh, and I did it again. So the grains do go opposite. So one goes this way, one goes this way, then one goes this way, then one goes this way. So that's the easiest way. The smaller piece goes on the very top, which that's easy to line up. So we have our little triangle, we have our smallest piece, and then the next three are just going to go back and forth. So this one's got the grains going this way. This one has the grains going this way, and this one has the grains going back again the opposite. So that is the easiest way to line those up, and there we go. We're going to just wiggle everybody around, make sure we have good fits on everything, and good straight lines, and yay! We're done. So those pieces can be a little small, but if you just go by it kind of have those little tricks in mind when you do that. Look at the grains, make sure everything's lining up and not dry fit beforehand. And I think you will be very successful with these. And thank you so much, guys. If you happened on this video and are curious about what we do in Laser Love with Save On Designs, you can definitely come find my Facebook group. I will link this to my Etsy store and the tools and everything that I used here in the video comments or the video description. And I think that's all. Thank you very much, guys. Have a great day.